Hi everyone and welcome to Star Trek Online and welcome to the last part of my 20 million energy credit challenge. I'm saying last part because it's over. We are at about 1:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. Obviously my deadline was 8 p.m. on Sunday and I'm there. If we were to come back to my wonderful spreadsheet, which I know you're all extremely enamored with, you will see there 20 million or 20.6 million energy credits made in the couple of weeks. I'm actually still selling stuff on the exchange as I go, but I'm not counting these in the final figures. And it overall took me 5.7 days. But that's not the entire story. If we look, I've made the vast majority of my money, vast majority of it at with R&D materials. I actually have 2 more Tour the Galaxies stored up if I wanted to use them, so that'd be another million. And additionally, what makes this to me even a little bit more remarkable is I haven't degrinded any duty officers to do this. I have 13 very rare and 5 rare duty officers that I could still grind down. So you're talking what, 5, 6, probably 6 million there, something like that. Refugees go for about 50. So it would more than likely be possible, or I think personally, that I could hit 30 million doing this in a week quite easily. So I'm actually very surprised that I am actually very surprised that it was as easy as it ended up being. I have to remind you, or I might remind you guys, number one, I did not do anything that I don't think a level 60 character can do who's in a decent ship. The only thing I did that would be difficult, I think, is Starbase 24 solo. I only did that about 3 times, so it wouldn't really have it didn't really have any it doesn't really have any measure on whether I completed the game, I completed the challenge or not. I didn't do any advanced level fleet actions aside from Crystalline Catastrophe Advanced, because I think that's incredibly easy, and I just did all the normal STFs. So what I'm going to do for this video is tell you guys really how I did it, so that you guys know where you can, if you want to make money in this game so you can buy the the cool ships. In fact, let's just have a look at the exchange just for a second, because I want to have a look here. There we go, Nico. And that's one of the ships. You can see that a Nico Undine Bio warship, which is one of the more desirable ships in the game, or one of the more desirable non T6 ships. They're about 120 million on the exchange, or you can bust open lock boxes. It's really your choice. You can actually go, there are some cheaper ones. There are some cheaper ones. I think Jem'Hadar might be one. Like the Jem'Hadar fighters. There you go. So a Jem'Hadar dreadnought carrier is like 103 million. So you're talking about 100 mil for these lockbox items, and those who think I'll never be able to afford that, well, 3-4 weeks grinding, you could probably pick one up. Although I have to say I wouldn't pick one up now. Only pick it up if you're in role playing, you really want to, because I think that tier 6 ships are going to go way beyond what tier 5 ships can do. There are a couple that I might want to pick up, because I was always someone who wanted to save up Dilithium and Zen for to pick up a Vesta. But then the winter event just released a tier 6 carrier that's better than a Vesta is. So there's really no point in me buying a Vesta anymore. Unless I want to have the coolness of a Vesta, I suppose. I actually think the Tal Shiar, and for what I'm flying now, Tal Shiar, never performed well under pressure. Got Tal Shiar. See, Tal Shiar lockboxes are ridiculously expensive. Let's just go for reward packs. Tal Shiar, and there you go. The Tal Shiar Adapted Destroyer, which is what I'm flying now, is going for around 80 million. As I said, I busted mine in a lockbox, and I actually opened a second one and sold it for 80 million, which is how I got the start. So if you want something like this, you know, you can actually make the credits to do it. Is it a grind? I would have to say yes. It wasn't as if I played for 6 hours a day. I didn't even use the entire weekend, but it did involve, you know, sort of 10-15 minutes in the morning getting all my DOFs ready, duty officers ready, followed by between 1.5 and 2 hours a night of playing and doing STF. So yeah, it's not really casual volume. You're probably talking about 15 hours of play in a week in order to do that. And while some people might say, yeah, that's casual level, that's a pretty decent time investment. You know, if you work for a living, you're investing most of your evening in it, and you're also, you know, you could be investing some of your weekend time. So I'm not saying you can do this 100% casually. I think that you can make 10 million quite easily casually, but you know, if you want to go for like 20 or 30 million, then you probably have to be a little bit more, you know, you have to put a bit more time into it. But it's the standard free-to-play model. The more time you put into something, the more you'll get out of it. So what you guys are obviously interested in is how I've managed to do this. So I'm going to take some figures off my sheet and I'm going to put them on the screen, because I know that you guys are probably more interested in looking at Star Trek Online than you are interested in looking at my spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do first of all is let's do duty officer assignments. Duty officer assignments, the ones that you really want to do, I mean, it hasn't applied on this one because I didn't end up doing it, but the ones you've got to do is you've got to get hold of the support missions which happen in the star clusters off to the side. So you're looking at Rolnor Nebula, Betreca Nebula. You just want those. It doesn't really matter which ones you go for. If you want a certain type of officer, then you can look up on Star Trek Online Wiki which ones you actually want. Usually it's Bertrand Sector has a technician, a purple technician on crit, and there's also the Alpha Expanse that has an energy weapons officer. So if you guys want to like level up your crafting really quickly, then Alpha is the way to do it, because you can get energy weapons officers which are used to craft beams, and you just craft beam weapon. You just set all your crafting to Mark 6 beam weapons and have one research scientist doing the beam tech, and that's the fastest way to level it up. So support missions, definitely. The second ones you have to do are the haggle missions. Haggle for Jevonite, haggle for Bataret Incense, all the Gamma Quadrant commodities. They'll cost you 2,000 credits to run them. However, even on a fail, you will get 3, which is a minimum of sort of 25,000 credits, even on the worst one and when the market's down. So those missions are insanely profitable. They're on a really short cooldown. They're only on a 6-hour cooldown. They take 2 hours to do. So do those missions as much as you possibly can. And depending on how you're doing it, you could end up you could end up using those for the CCXP missions, the Command XP missions, because you want to get fleet marks for your fleet, for example. In fact, if we come here, you'll see I've been focusing exclusively on energy credits for the past week or so, but you'll notice my dilithium has barely come down. In fact, it's probably the same as it was, because I have refined for today, so it's maybe even a little higher than it was. And additionally, I have 1,200 fleet marks and 556k fleet credits, so it's not like I've been skimping on that, and I still have a huge amount of marks. So it's not like I've been really skimping on anything else. I've just been, and if we come to duty officers, if we go on the overview, you'll notice I have enough in pretty much every discipline apart from diplomacy, which is the worst one to level up by a long way. I have a shed load worth of CXP to trade in for fleet marks. So, you know, I've not done this energy credit grind at the expense of everything else. The final duty officer, the third duty officer one that you want to do is contraband missions. Contraband goes for about 40,000 on the exchange at the moment, 40 to 45. It really fluctuates. If you crit one of the 30-minute missions, you can get as much as 5. So you can get 200k off one DOF mission there. So I would recommend doing those whenever you see them. You'll generally pick them up in Federation and Klingon space. If you're a Klingon, you just do marauding missions constantly and you get a bucket load of contraband. So it's really easy to do those. So if you're a Klingon, you can do this even easier than if you are Federation. Going back to the DOF sequence, I would suggest Asylum missions. One side product of doing the support missions is you get a lot of refugees. A lot of these you're going to sell because they go for at least 50k on the exchange, and the more expensive ones can go even further. But some of them I would suggest keeping and do asylum missions when you've got the crit traits. Again, with those you can occasionally, if you're lucky, you can spike a very rare, and if you get a very rare from it and he is a desirable thing like a damage control engineer or a technician or something like that, you can get multiple millions of energy credits for that officer. So sometimes it's definitely worth running those and seeing what you can get. Request R&D requisition. I only did this once during the week. It costs 1,000 dilithium to run it, but it's way worth it. You will usually get a purple component, which is worth 1 million or so. You will also get some R&D materials, which could include rubidium, which is 70 grand a pop. You could also get an R&D common duty officer, and if you want to keep it, keep it. If you don't, they're going for a lot on the exchange currently. Even the common ones are sometimes heading towards 7 figures to pick up. You can see my things are just ticking constantly still. I'm still selling stuff. I'll probably go off it for a little bit of time. So that pretty much covers duty officer. The only other ones that I do as filler are the scan missions, because when you crit them you get blue R&D materials, and sometimes it can be rubidium. So again, they're ones where you can sometimes get a little bit lucky and you can get 100k or so if you crit that mission. And since they're 45 and on pretty much no cooldown, I would suggest doing those. So that's your duty officers, and they're going to get you quite a lot of cash out of it. Just adding one thing, if you've got a dilithium mine, do the extract valuable minerals. Do the extract valuable dilithium as well, but the valuable minerals, if you crit it, that does 130k, and so that's another that's another bucket load of stuff that you can do. Okay, so moving away from duty officer missions, what can we do? The first thing is Tour the Galaxy. Tour the Galaxy gives you 475,000 energy credits for a full completion. You guys can see my full completion of it in a video I've done a while. It wasn't even that long ago. It was when I was discussing, I think it was my first mission back on Delta Rising. That was when I was showing my route for Tour the Galaxy. In order to complete it, I would suggest you get the Borg assimilated engines. The Tal Shiar adapted warp core would work as well. The other one that would work is the Mako engines. They're not quite as fast as the Borg assimilated ones, but you get the idea. They are you want something that'll let you go transwarp without using your quantum slipstream drive. I don't know if turn rate consoles like RCS accelerators work in sector space, but it does seem to work with my ship. So fit one of those for turn rate if you want. The other thing, if you were lucky enough to be online for, I think it was Step Through the Stars, you might have the Solnay warp core, and that has subspace fold, which allows you to jump forward 2 light years. I believe it's now a Lobby item only, so that is a little bit disappointing if you don't have it, but I got it from the mission when it was up, and that's worth a lot in Tour the Galaxy. So that's how I'd recommend doing that. After that, all I pretty much did was grind fleet actions. My rotation is basically Crystalline Catastrophe Advanced whenever it's up, because that is advanced, so you'll get the 720 credits. You'll also get the 720 dilithium, sorry. You'll also get the advanced R&D pack, which will have a radiogenic particle in it, which goes for about 80k currently on the exchange. They crashed a bit during the last week. You'll also get 5 of a rare. So that could be rubidium, it could be a Z particle. So that's a mission that you just run whenever it's up. After that, I just do the Borg 3 rotation. I don't do Hive Onslaught because it pretty much never fires. So I do the Borg 3 rotation. That gets me the normal R&D box and gets me some Omega molecules. I also try and fit Borg Disconnected in there whenever I can, because that's where I farm Undine marks for the most part. I don't need Delta marks at the moment, but I'll use that mission as well. Azure Nebula I do very rarely. I basically do that if nothing else is up. However, I replaced that recently with Starbase 24 Solo. For those of you who don't know how to do that, you just open a private queue, put yourself in it. I'd set it to level 58 because you still get Mark 12 drops if it's level 58, so it doesn't really matter. You just want to make it as easy as you can for yourself. Set it to level 58 and then just start it, and you can load it up with one person. If you leave it and don't change the level, it can start at level 3, where you'll still get the R&D part, but you'll only pick up Mark 1 stuff, so you won't pick up enough vendor trash. Occasionally you can also do Tal Dewar or some of the patrol missions to pick up more vendor trash. It's really up to you. I made a total of almost 2 million in vendor trash throughout the last 5 days, and that was done before I discovered Starbase 24. So overall, what did I make where? I made almost 3 million on duty officers, only about 1 million on contraband, 3 million on gamma quadrant commodities, 10 million on R&D materials. It was just ridiculous. And 600,000 on the crafted stuff like warp cores. That would be one duty officer assignment I would do. Craft things like beam arrays and warp cores, because it doesn't cost you anything to do it apart from one duty officer slot. Purple warp cores go for like 150 to 200,000 easily on the exchange. If you get a crit damage ×3 beam array or a decent Mark 12 very rare beam array, you will make an absolute crap ton out of it on the exchange. So again, the crafting missions on the exchange are worth doing. On duty officers are worth doing. So that was one that I missed. Don't craft ground material; it isn't worth anything because everyone's using rep gear on the ground anyway. But in space, most people are not using rep weapons, they're using standard weapons, so crafted weapons are still worth it there. So I think that pretty much covers how I managed to do this. So if we just come back to the sheet just one final time before I let you guys get on with whatever you're doing. There we go, just come back to the sheet briefly. You'll see 20.6 million. Total time it took was 5.7 days. Yes, it's a little bit of a grind. I'll just show off my checks as well so you can see there's no cheating gone on here or anything like that. I haven't even, you can see here, the fact I haven't got Trellium K or Argonite shows that I'm not doing advanced queues. Radiogenic particles was the only one I did. I did do some R&D components around here. Yeah, there we go. So like quantum field focus and emitter array, but there wasn't much that was done there. And as you can see, I'm still up on some supplies, and this is the thing that surprised me the most. You know, I have 13 very rare guys, so I could easily make another sort of 7 or 8 million if I wanted to by the end of this weekend. Some of those I will degrind because I simply don't need them. I think the warp theorist I have a bucket load of, so I don't need that. Shield distribution officer, same again. I'll keep the energy weapon officer and the fabrication engineers, I think. The rest of them will probably go. I'll keep the deflector officer as well. The rest of them, I think, will just go into the grinder, and I will feed them into the fleet starbase. I imagine at that at that point. Still, that is going to be it as far as this goes, guys. Any suggestions on how I can spend the cash are greatly appreciated. I will probably, let me just think, I will probably spend about £10 million on £10 million, geez, 10 million energy credits on the fleet holdings, because I think that they do need an upgrade. But for the rest of it, that is it as far as that goes. For what I'm going to do next, I will do another dilithium video, I believe, because that one needs upgrading. I'll probably do that sort of tomorrow. Have that up tomorrow, and then I think it's probably time I started on StarCraft at that point. I'll finish off the Foundry mission, but I'll do that in between StarCraft cycles, I think. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. The challenge has been somewhat fun and profitable, certainly, putting my Ferengi ears on. But that's it for this time, guys, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.